Well, hello, and Happy New Year. We are just about a few seconds away for our West Coast Happy New Year. This is Jason Hodge, and today I just wanted to welcome you into the next year, 2015, with getting stuff done. That's my kids in the background doing their thing, and so here we go. Okay, so now what we're going to be talking about today as we're bringing in this new year is how do you actually get stuff done? How do you put your stuff together so that you actually can see 2015 is just chock full of accomplishments? Well, I've got a few quick fixes, some hacks and things like that I think are going to really help you out in this year. So I'm going to let the song play out and then I'll be back with that great information. Okay, well, here we are. We are back. Okay, like I said, I'm Jason Hodge. You can go to askja.com/KBC. That's the blog challenge that we've got going on, closing out last year, coming into this year, coming in strong. And I wanted to hit a few topics today. Not a few topics, one topic, but a few key points inside of those topics. Let me pop downstairs real quick, where it's a little quiet. My kids are very excited in the background. I don't have the heart to tell them to quiet down, so I'm going to remove myself and put myself out of harm's way as I go and give you guys this information. Okay, so today, let's look at some of the things that you can do right away that's going to ultimately position you in your marketplace and give you a voice that people actually want to hear. One of the things is you want to find things to add value. Okay, so let's look at the 3 points. Find things to add major value to your marketplace. Okay, that's point number 1. Point number 2 is how do you do that? You're going to ask the right questions. Okay, asking the right questions is going to entail having a clear view of your end goal objectives. That's going to determine what questions you ask and how you ask them and to whom you ask them. And then how you talk about it. How are you going to get the information out there? How are you going to market it? And we're going to talk about blogging today because I'm wrapping this around the blogging challenge that we have going on right now, over at askja.com/KBC. That's K as in kite, B as in boy, C as in cat. Pop on over there right now if you haven't already and get signed up for that. It's going to be a hoot, and it's going to help position you inside of your marketplace on a high authority blog And there's training that goes along with that will show you not only how to blog, but some of the relevant things to add to your marketplace and how to really go after your marketplace to become an authority in your marketplace. So again, that's askja.com/KBC. Get signed up for it. Okay, so let's dive in real quick. One of the things that a lot of businesses that I have consulted with and run into over the years, there's this misconception on what it is actually to blog. How do they go about adding value to the marketplace? A lot of times I see the businesses, they kind of approach it in a very inorganic way. And by that, let me explain. When you get on social media, for example, and the first thing out of your mouth is, hey, you want to buy my stuff? That's not really social. Because mainly you want to treat social like you would any kind of mixer, any kind of conversation that you start off. First thing is you want to get to know the individual. You've got to qualify if that individual is somebody that you even should be in a conversation with, let alone if they should be a part of your business, whether it's you're doing business with them or they're doing business with you. It sounds like they're one and the same, but not really. Because you could have a service that you offer to a demographic or to a person that, it's not necessarily reciprocal. They may not have a business that offers, that they can offer to you because, their business model or their target audience is totally different. So you want to make sure that you are approaching the conversation in a conversational manner. You want to get to know the person. That the adage is people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And so, you develop that knowing and liking and trusting by the frequency in which you get in front of them and the relevancy of the information that you bring to them. What kind of questions are you asking? Are you asking questions to make small talk, or are you asking questions to actually see if you have the tool set, the skill set, the knowledge base to add value to this individual's life or to their business's bottom line? If you're not asking the questions or finding out if you are actually a good fit, maybe the conversation's a little premature. Maybe you should step away from that conversation. Maybe you should talk about the weather, but not talk about business. So you want to qualify in order to be able to ascertain if you're able to add value. If you're not able to add value, the next best thing that you can do is listen to them and say, okay, I can't add value. However, I do have a contact who can add value. Let me connect you to my contact who can add much value to your business. Okay, so you introduce them to your qualified contact. What that's going to do is that's going to create an affinity. Even though you all aren't doing business, they're going to remember you and say, you know what? I remember this person who connected me with the person who actually is fit, equally or beneficial to my business. I want to do something for them. You've set in motion the law of reciprocity. All right, so find things where you can add major value. Second thing is to ask questions. The questioning process it's a two-part thing. On one hand, you are asking questions because you want to get to know the individual. You want to get to know the business. You want to get to know the person behind the business. You want to get to know if they're a good fit or not. You want to get to know more about them in order to see where your comfort zone lies. And then also, what you are doing is you're qualifying yourself to them. I've got a friend online who is an author. As a matter of fact, let me see. I don't think I brought her book down here, but let me run upstairs real quick into the noise zone because I really, I was reading through some of her pages and I was sitting here cracking up because she's so on point with just the brief things that I've read so far. And I thought, okay, I've got to share this with somebody because it's really that good. Okay, but her name is Tina Marie Williams, T.M. Williams, and she wrote a book, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Sales and Marketing. Now, I haven't gone through the whole book, but the parts that I have gone through at the beginning, I think are just brilliant, especially when she just pulls you into the book and it makes you feel as if she is talking directly to you. Let me see if I could read a passage in here. Okay, this is a little off topic, but it is on topic because she just talks about aspects of marketing that you may not necessarily, she talks about sheeple, which I thought was hilarious. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Still looking. And I didn't plan, and to my defense, I did not plan on bringing this up, her book up. But as I started talking, I just realized that, I really should share this because I thought it was just brilliant. And let's see. Okay, I may have to come back to it. Okay, I'm just going to talk, and as I'm talking, I'm going to be looking through this thing. There's a point in there where she just talks about to raise your hand above your head and smack yourself in the head, and she goes, okay, that's from me to you. You're welcome. And it's basically, if you are doing the things in marketing that you shouldn't be doing because you are just like the sheeple, you are following the masses, and, not really adding value to your marketplace, but you're just doing senseless things that you see marketers do because they don't know any better. And instead of thinking through a process and using their own internal mechanism as their barometer, as to whether they're going to go through with a marketing tactic that really is more of an annoyance tactic, and suspend their better judgment, she says, okay, yeah, raise your hand and then hit yourself in the head. And she says, okay, that was for me. So let me see if I could find it because I cracked up and I sent her a message on that because I thought it was just great. But yeah, the thing is that, you've got to look at what is it that you would want. How would you want to be approached in your marketplace? Would you want someone to just immediately come up and start trying to sell you on stuff? Or would you want them to actually want to know if they are qualified to help you out in your business? Would you want to know, let me see, I'm looking to see if I could find it in the chapter. I should send her a message real quick, but she might not be awake. But yeah, you want to look at, are you doing things that are going to ultimately add value? And if not, stop doing them. Just stop. Okay? One of the things that I've seen time and again is that inside of the quote unquote marketing space, people treat other folks that they're marketing to as if this is the first and last time that they will ever have a chance to see this individual. And so they want to shove everything into that 3-second conversation and get down to, hey, will you marry me and have my kids? You can't do that. The bottom line is you have to look at, and I think that one of the best ways that I've heard it put was from a friend and a mentor and a colleague, Jack Humphreys, and he's the one who wrote Bending the Web. And he said this in one of the calls I was on with him. He said, sometimes people go into it, and more often than not, go into a marketing pitch, right, or a sales pitch or whatever, and they are forgetting that it's a courting process. And the minute that he said courting process, it reminded me back of when I met my wife and how I approached her. Now, granted, I approached her quite a bit different than your average person because I told her that I loved her within the first week. But I just knew. I knew. And, I read all of the body language or the signs properly, whatever. And so when she responded with the same thing. Yeah, I love you too, right? So here it is. I took a chance, but we just had such a strong vibe that I just knew. I knew that she was the one that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So I went ahead, took a chance, and I told her. But this was after many, many, many days and hours of conversation. I mean, we would spend 5 to 7 hours on the phone in each one of our conversations. And so we really got to know each other. And she's been consistent over the years. I mean, we've been together for now, 9 years? So here it is that although I'm atypical in that sense, but because we were able to concentrate all of that getting to know each other in those conversations, those hours upon hours of conversation, it was the equivalent of folks having known each other for months. The amount of time that we spent together talking and all of that, right? So I just knew that, here it is, that yes, I absolutely love this woman. Now, when you are dealing with your marketplace, if you don't have that type of connection, you can't straight out tell your marketplace, hey, I love you, I want to get married to you, will you have my children, or vice versa, can I have your children, if you're, that's the makeup of your gender role, right? You have to approach it from the standpoint of, hey, I really would like to get to know you. I'd like you to get to know me. Let's see who each other, who we are in this scenario to see if this is a good fit or not. Getting back to the marketing and the dating thing, I remember the couple of folks that I had dated prior to meeting and marrying my wife. I never believed in, hey, let me try and put my best foot forward. Let me try and trick you into thinking that I am one way when I'm really not, but I want to close the deal. So what do I need to tell you in order for you to believe that I am somebody that I'm not, in order for you to say yes when I propose? My approach was, no, I don't want you to change for me, and I'm definitely not going to change for you. Now that we are on that same page, let's see if you being you and me being me, if we now can find common ground that we can work with each other, enjoy each other's company, and love each other based on the merits of who each other is. Not the facade of who we have to create ourselves to be, thinking that this is the way to approach or to close this deal or to get the I do. In your marketplace, you've got to look at it the same way. You don't want your market to manufacture themselves to fit into your mold of who they are. And you don't want to have to remanufacture yourself to fit into the mold of who you think that they need to see in order to get the yes. You want to go to the marketplace that is already suited for you, and then you want to present yourself, who you are, as you are, in order for them to give you the nod and the yes to say, yes, we're wanting and ready to do business with you. We've been waiting for a marketer like you. We've been waiting for a business like you. We are your perfect fit target audience. You see what I mean? Big difference. One is you are getting to know each other with an authentic approach. The other one is that you're trying to make yourself something that you're not in order to close a deal, which is short-lived. Because you can only sustain a facade for so long before things start falling apart and things start, slipping through the cracks. And then you have a lot of disappointed customers. Your marketplace turns on you because it wasn't you that you presented in the first place. Okay, so find things to add value. And another thing is ask the relevant questions, right? So asking the relevant questions lets you know if they're a good fit, and it also gives them the idea if you're a good fit. If you're asking the wrong questions, then they kind of know, okay, well, if you were our right fit, you would already know the answer to that question, or you would ask that question in this way. So thank you, but no thank you. It's good for both of you because you can move on quicker to the audience that is suited for you, and they can move on quicker. And they also says, wow, I really like the honesty of this person, even though we weren't a good fit, but I just ran across somebody who is talking just like that marketer or that business. Let me point them over into their direction because even though we weren't a good fit, I really liked how I felt around them, and I think that they're going to do very well by this person that I think is a good fit for them. So now you get a referral. even though you weren't doing business directly with them. See, so that's how that works. It's a people thing, a social thing. And then now when it comes to marketing, getting your message out to your marketplace, one of the ways that I like to do that, and and I'm touting this because it is one of the most effective ways, is to blog. Blogging is your business's ability to put its personality out into its marketplace, to grow a community of followers, to allow the search engines, Yahoo, Bing, Google, some of the other ones out there, to say, hey, I like the perspective, I like the attention that this particular blog brings to this topic. It's an authority blog. They cover a lot of the bases, and they have a really good following, a strong following. Right now, with the what we know as Hummingbird update, which took place, I believe, in 2013, Google changed around the way that they rate and rank websites and blogs and all of that. And they're using social triggers now. The folks who are, giving the shares on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all of those social arenas, bookmarks and all of that, the more connections or more fingers, the more references that are being made on these different platforms to your blog or to your website, the more relevant you become to Google, definitely. The other search engine as well, but definitely Google, because they changed their algorithms in order to use the human element as the algorithm. They're seeing what you like, and then they're basing their rankings on that. Because ultimately, Google is in business to be in business and to return relevant results. Because in returning relevant results, they are able to gain more ad spends. Advertisers are buying more ads with them so that they can show up in those searches, so they can get in front of their target audience. And so Google's able to make way more money by producing or returning relevant search results. So that's why they switched over, because before they were getting gamed a lot by savvy marketers who knew how to manipulate the system. So Google says, okay, enough of all of this, enough of going with the backlinks, and enough of taking what we used to use as a measuring tool to rank sites and blogs and all of that. Let's go with what is popular in the people's vote, since it's the people who are ultimately going to be buying the items or clicking on the links of the advertisers who use those keywords to advertise by. You see? So blogging and then marketing that blog, getting that blog out in front of your marketplace, is going to be a very key thing in order to gain the authority that you need, in order to really knock things out of the park in 2015. The beautiful thing about a blog is that you're able to put content out there, really good content, and you could do it once, right? I mean, I suggest that you do it multiple times, but say that you really address a topic very well. You address it well, and then that same topic shows up in searches for years to come. I've got a client who we did something like almost 10 years ago. It might have been 10 years, actually. We're 2015 now? Okay, yeah. It was 10 years ago, over 10 years. And that article is still getting traffic. Because the article itself was thorough, and it answers the question, or the questions that folks in that particular industry are asking. So when they ask certain questions, the results come back that this article pops up, because it's like, oh, okay, this has been voted to be a relevant answer to the question that you just asked. So now they're able to read the article, glean some information, some insights, some steps, some resources and things like that. And then again, they hit like or whatever that they do on that, which then puts it back up into the results for Google that, oh, okay, this is still relevant. So next time somebody asks for this information, let's make sure that we push this article to the forefront, because enough people have said that this article is relevant. So let's continue to give it the love that it deserves, because people are still finding it valuable. That's really it in a nutshell. Let me tell you a few things that you can do in order to gain the information that you're looking for in order to create relevant content. I like to create what I call Google Alerts. Well, not what I call Google Alerts. They're called Google Alerts. And I put in the key terms. Say, for example, that you want to put in, you want to know about, writing term papers. Well, I want to know what the experts say about that. I want to know the different types of term papers there are to write. I want to know the lengths of term papers. I want to know what the acceptable format for term papers are. So I'm going to search on all of those aspects of term papers. I may want to know the history of term papers. When did they start? Who said that term papers were a good idea? Maybe that gives me some of the historicity behind the term papers. So now I plug that information in to my research queue. And all of those things, history, types, lengths, the format, all of those things, I'm saying, okay, let me do a search on those things and let me plug them into my Google Alerts. And that way, anytime anything on those aspects of term papers are written, I'm going to get a message in my inbox. And that message is going to give me information that I can now sift through to see, oh, okay, that was good. Okay, that was not so good. Okay, that was good. And so now I'm able to sift through it, put them in relevant categories, and then when I'm finished culling the information, now I can take it and turn it into a guide for folks who want to know how to write term papers. Now, the key is going to be, when do I push that guide out? When do I put it in front of the marketplace? Well, the best time is going to be maybe about a month or so before term papers are due, maybe at the beginning of a school year. So that way, I get ahead of the marketplace on my guide to writing the perfect term paper. I look at the different ways that is being searched for, and then I make sure that I write it in a way that is going to speak to those different keywords, or I write articles around that topic utilizing different search patterns or different search keywords to say, okay, if a person asks for it this way, how do you write the best term paper? Okay, I have a guide on how to write the best term paper, or I have an article talking about writing the best term paper. And then I have a link that now directs them to my guide on writing the perfect term paper. Now, a person may say, how do I write a term paper in under 10 minutes? Well, I may have an article that speaks about speed writing of term papers. So I talk about certain aspects and then direct them again over to the same how to write the perfect term paper. You see, so I'm doing the term paper guide once because it's got all of the things in there that I need it to have, but I am creating different assets across the marketplace or online, in social media, in articles, capture pages and whatnot. I'm creating different portals in order to get to that one guide that I made that answers all of these questions. So when you create a guide or when you're structuring the guide, whatever information that you're going, whether it's term papers or how to, groom a poodle or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. You start breaking it down into relevant pieces that is going to answer the most asked questions for that particular item inside of a marketplace. If you are grooming a poodle, then you talk about the tools that you use to groom a poodle. You talk about the methods of keeping a dog calm. You talk about the shampoos and the conditioners and things like that. You talk about the clippers and all of that. You talk about everything that goes into grooming a poodle. You talk about the services that are out there. You talk about the directories to find the perfect service. You talk about the questions to ask a potential poodle groomer. And that way it becomes the ultimate guide to poodle grooming. So then you could take each one of those pieces, create an article or a post around it, speaking to that individual aspect that is contained inside of the guide, and then you have a link that directs right back to the guide for purchase or for trade if you want to build your list as a newsletter. Okay, your mailing list, right? So you get what I'm saying. You take it, break it apart into its very simple components, and then you start from that point, taking each one of those components and looking at how many angles will people speak to this individual component. How many ways will they talk about clippers? Is there going to be a clipper review where it talks about the top 10 clippers for grooming poodles? And then to whom is that geared? Is that geared towards the groomers who will be buying the clippers? Or would that be geared towards the consumer who wants to know, well, what clippers do the groomers use? Because I heard that this clipper over here could potentially damage my poodle's, mane. All right. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I'm not a poodle owner, but you get the idea. And so I want to make sure that the groomer is not using this clipper, but is using this clipper over here instead. So now one of the questions that may be posed to them inside of the guide is make sure that when you ask your groomer before grooming your, having your poodle groomed, ask your groomer or potential groomer, what clipper are they using? And make sure it's not this clipper because like you saw in the guide, this clipper damages poodles' manes. Okay, so you've now educated the person on how to go about qualifying or disqualifying a potential poodle groomer. All of that from the guide that you have seeded or you have dropped breadcrumbs to have them go into the guide by learning about what the best clippers are through the clipper directory or the clipper review, right? Another one could be the type of food that you feed your poodle 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month before going into the groomer to make sure that they have a nice shiny coat so that the grooming process is that much easier. Most people don't know this, but if your coat is not shiny and they use certain clippers, then the clippers will damage the mane, but that has nothing to do with the clippers. It has to do with the fact that their coat is not shiny, their mane is not shiny. So in order to avoid that from happening, make sure that you give your dog the Vitamita Vegemin, And so then you're like, okay, so what's the best Vitamita Vegemin that I can get? Well, you get this one over here, this one over here, this one over here. You go to the Vitamita Vegemin review, right? So now you're comparing and contrasting Vitamita Vegemins. And when you find the right one, you go to the store and you get it because there's a directory for the store of which Vitamita Vegemins to purchase. So this is how you start breaking the things down. You break them down to chapters. What are all of the things? Now, I'm going to give you an assignment. Brainstorm. Pick whatever niche that you're going for. Brainstorm. What is it? What are all of the things that could possibly be asked about this particular niche or this particular item or product or whatever? All right. If you don't know the answer to that, then I want you to create a Google alert. So go to the Google tool chest, and you can get that if you have a Gmail account, you can get that, look in the little box grid configuration. A matter of fact, I will create this link after I finish up this broadcast, but we'll go askja.com forward. Don't go there now because there's not going to be anything there, okay? But give it, whether it's later on, like about an hour or so after you see this, or tomorrow sometime. but go to askja.com/GTools. Okay, Google Tools. All right. And then so I'll create a post with some links, and I'll build it out later. But talking about some of the different things from Google Alerts to Google Scholars and all of that, you'll find that on my blog. Okay. So again, that's askja.com/GTools. All right. And, you'll see some of the different things that you can use when it comes to that. So now you're breaking this thing down, you go create your alerts, go into Google Scholars, go into Google Trends, all of those things. You use all of those things, interchangeably to see. It's all about getting the best mix of information that you can in order to make sure that what you are delivering to your marketplace is thorough, it's complete, and it answers the relevant questions, and the relevant questions that are pre-framing what it is that you have to offer. If you are not offering anything to do with poodles, then it makes absolutely no sense for you to create a guide for poodles in order to just get poodle traffic, because they're never going to convert. If you have a feline site and you're doing stuff for poodles, it makes absolutely no sense. So you want to create the right message to market, and then after you do that, you push it out into that marketplace. Another great area for you to find out more about your marketplace, go on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, there is a community in the background that a lot of people don't really know about that is just, it's popping. Folks are in there asking questions, and I like to go into LinkedIn, and every now and then I will field questions. I'll see a question, okay, that's a good one. Let me go ahead and answer that real quick. Not only does it, boost my credibility, but it also makes me feel good that I'm able to answer some questions from some professionals who are looking for answers for their field. I remember there was a guy from the Golf Channel, a few years back who had a question in relation to certain things with technology and all that. So I went ahead and fielded the question, and he sent me a personal message saying, wow, thank you so much for the information that you gave me. That was really good stuff. And I was like, okay, cool deal. So, go in there, peruse through and find out what people are asking and see the answers that they're being given. If you're finding that the answers are really good, great. That's some of your research right there. If you're finding that the answers have a deficit, you may want to chime in there again and talk about, okay, well, here's the answer to that. And by the way, I've got a guide that speaks to that and then some. You put a link to your guide in there. Now you have seeded it with relevant information. It makes sense. It makes good sense. It's good business sense. And it's not spammy for you to then put a more information link in there to say, okay, you know what? Here you go. Look at this. Now, granted, I don't know if they have shifted the rules or not. So you have to go and, see at the time of this taping, this is what I remember it to be. So you've got to check it out to see if they've made any adjustments to that model. And if they have, then, okay, you have to adhere to whatever they've adjusted it to. But while I was doing it, there was no problem with doing it that way. It's on topic, and it's not spammy, and you're still offering much value. Okay, so LinkedIn, the communities where they're asking questions. Go into the groups in LinkedIn as well. A specialized group. There could be a poodle group inside of LinkedIn. Go there. In your G+, if you're not a part of G+, become a part of G+. The community inside of G+. There's a lot of communities that are specific to various niches. You can go in there, ask a lot of questions, add value. You can even create a lot of great JV partnerships to where you're able to collaborate and create a joint venture inside of a particular work. You could find a series of experts who are experts on poodle care. So you interview them, and now you've got some relevant content that you can put right into your guide. You see, so there's many ways that you can approach this. Okay, all of these things, if you do these, they will help you to structure your 2015 for success. You will be able to grow your lists, grow your business, and grow your reach, grow your relevancy, your credibility. Folks will they will start looking to you for the answers in your industry. And you don't have to know all of the answers. You just have to know how to source the answers and to package them in a way where your marketplace is going to appreciate it. You're making it easier for your marketplace. Make it easy for them, and they will reward you for that. Okay? And then lastly, maybe not lastly, there's so much more that can be talked about, but this is the last thing I'm going to say on it for this broadcast. Pop into Twitter. Twitter is a wealth of information. There's so much stuff that goes on in Twitter that people do not give it credit for. Shame on them. But pop on into Twitter. Look for different experts in the area, whether it's, again, poodle grooming or whatever. Look for experts, create a list, and that way you can follow what they've got going on in that. Also, I would say pull a RSS feed for Twitter and have that RSS feed going to a specific location so that you can have the information coming to you instead of you're going to the information. I have quite a few automated things set up online that draw information from hundreds of places into one location for me because I don't have the time to go all over the place, nor do I have the inclination to send my contractors or employees all over the place looking for stuff when I'm trying to get information. I want it to come to me, and that way all I have to do is go through the feed that I've set up and say, okay, yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe. And then all of my yeses, I can use those in order to create the relevant content, timely, that is going to add value to my marketplace. And then I push that out there. All right, so this is Jason Hodge. I'm really hoping that this has served you well. Okay, I create this broadcast in order to add value to my marketplace. And, I'm looking forward to this 2015. Hopefully you are as well. And I'm hoping also that you implement these things that I spoke of today in order to grow your business, grow your list, and to increase your authority inside of your marketplace. I'm looking forward to the next broadcast in 2015 here. And again, get connected with me. Plug into the blogging challenge. It will serve you better than you could ever imagine by going to askja.com/KBC. Again, that's askja.com/KBC. And then again, the other link that I'm going to link that I'm going to put a link to is the askja.com/GTools. Okay? askja.com/GTools. And by the way, if you get a moment, pick up the book, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Sales and Marketing by T.M. Williams. I want to know what you think about it. Okay? You should be able to find it on Amazon, but I will include that in the on my post as well, so you can. I'll do another link for that. askja.com/TM Williams. Okay, again, that's askja.com/TM Williams, and I'll put a link to that. That will be within the next few hours to a day. All right, so I hope that this has served you well, and I will catch you a little later. This is Jason Hodge. You have a great one.